brought to you by Arts for the Schools, a nonprofit organization. Enjoy. Hey guys, it's Mr. Comet again here for Arts for the Schools. So in the last couple of videos, which you can actually find in the link in the description below, we've gone over ways to produce music, or at the very least play music at home using just household objects that you have sort of laying around. Well, what if you want to play one instrument to yourself playing a different instrument and overdub it, or record a song and hear what it would sound like with an actual drum kit? A lot of these things would have been very expensive to do just decades ago. You'd have to hire a studio musician and have a tape machine. And so we're going to talk a little bit about the history of those things. But you know, nowadays we can actually do the same stuff with just, again, household objects, this time including some electronics we have around the house. Things like GarageBand, which have come for years in all iOS devices. So even old iPhones and stuff that you buy, you know, they don't have to function for any other purpose. You know, you can buy a $30 iPhone 5 or 6 or whatever that doesn't really function as a phone or anything like that, and just use the software, or an old iPad and just use the software. Old Macs going back over 10 years have GarageBand and sometimes even Logic, which is Apple's kind of upgraded version of GarageBand that a lot of professional producers use. What we're going to do is we're going to make a GarageBand track, and we're going to make an original groove and loops and all that. We're going to make a bass track. So there's going to be a video today with drums, and there's going to be a bass video. And then we're going to layer some acoustic instruments, and we're going to do vocals. And we're going to figure out ways to write lyrics that are easy and still powerful, and we're going to make a song. It might not be the best song in the world, it might not be your cup of tea, but the idea is just learning the ability to do it. And what we'll actually hopefully do in the future is do it with a couple of other genres of music as well. Maybe rearrange the same song, remix it as like a hip-hop song and stuff like that, just to show you guys how easy it is. So, you know, today we're going to do GarageBand, and then talk about how to turn your pots and pans drums, again, if you can record them, into you know, a drum trigger set, which will then activate drum sounds in your software, which is pretty cool. It's like a free, powerful, good-sounding drum kit at home that you can easily record with a PC. So thank you guys for tuning in. We're going to get started by just creating some loops, and then I'm going to talk about it. And then in the next video, like I said, we'll move into some of the melody and stuff like that. And we'll build it up, and guys, give me your feedback. Any questions, if you would maybe do things a little bit differently. You know, if you think that doing drums first, then bass, then the rest of it is the way you would do things. Some people do it a little differently. They start with a vocal, then they move down to guitars, bass, drums, or do it in some other order. And it's actually important to the creative process to be mindful of these kind of method details of what you're doing, just so you understand it. So thank you guys again. So I'm doing this totally from scratch here. We are going to go ahead and start to make a drum groove. I had some instruments already loaded up, but just to kind of show you how you load one up, you just go ahead and tap there, and you have a series, and this is just GarageBand, and you have a series of different options. It's actually quite a few options. You can even have a drummer just play like a robot drummer, and it sounds pretty good. It's pre-recorded loops, and then you can play along to that. But what we're going to do right now, here, I'll add a percussion track just to kind of show you guys. But, okay, so let me do this. I'm going to change that up, actually. So I made a mistake that I frequently make, which is that I selected a drummer instead of selecting drums. So let me do this. More sounds. We're going to go percussion, and we're going to go pots and pans, because that's what we've been working on. So it's kind of fun. And then just to kind of, let me turn this up a bit. Okay, so that's what that sounds like. And all right, so we are going to go ahead and move to a regular drum kit. Let me go ahead and I'm gonna delete this. Oh, watch out. All right, guys. So I'm just gonna mute this drummer track that I just made because I don't need that right now. And And okay, so you guys can see it on the screen. I'm gonna go ahead and select the drum kit here. And just to give you a quick overview, so this is the SoCal drum kit. I think it is probably the best sounding all-around drum kit they have. So you just tap it with your fingers, and you can also, there are cymbals, crash, there's a ride bell and a ride cymbal. There's a hi-hat, it's a choke and or a tip hit. There's a loose hi-hat if you hit there, and there's an open hi-hat on this side. So you can little drum solo with one hand. How do you guys like that? So, all right, what we're gonna do is we're gonna record this. I'm gonna first look at the tempo. For the project I was already working on, I had the tempo set to, I think, 76. That's a pretty good tempo. Let's hear what that sounds like. I'm gonna go to this menu screen and I'm going to change the metronome. So let me go ahead, metronome and count in. I have the hi-hat set. That's my favorite when I'm setting the bass drum. It's the easiest to kind of listen to and write bass grooves. And then I'm gonna listen to the level here. Okay, so, and the rest of this you guys will actually hear recorded from what I'm actually doing. So let's just get started. Oh, looks like I had something already recorded on that track. Give me just a moment. Here, let me go ahead and add another track. Like I said, I was already working on a project, so I kind of added a couple of tracks in order to, there we go. I'm gonna cut that. All right, cool. This way when I start, because what it was doing is it was counting off the beats before it, and so it was counting off the part of the song I had already written. Okay, so here we go. All right, so that one I kind of, you know, the way that I was sort of thinking about it is a simple bass groove, bump, bump, bump. I did add some triplets, bump, 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 and then some, I did like triplet bump like this, and then some 16th notes, because I wanted to show you guys the stuff we've been working on. Now this is, right now, going to be quantized, meaning that if the beats weren't in time, which I know that they were not all in time, they will actually line up. So let me just show you guys here. Quantization. So right now it's on 16th note, but I'm going to change this to 8th note triplet just to see what it sounds like. Give it a little bit more of a groove. All right, that's a little bit more of like a swing thing. I don't know if I like that. Let me try 30 seconds. Let's 16ths. I think 16ths is going to be the best for the bass drum, so let's just leave it on that. All right, so now we're going to go ahead. Sometimes I move to the hi-hat, but in this instance, I'm actually going to move to a snare drum. And the snare drum that I like the heavy kit. Just because it's very, but be careful, some of these kits, you'll get a rim shot and it's really loud, or you'll get a double hit like this. So this sometimes I'll just use as an accent snare, but just to give us like a powerful intro, maybe put some powerful chords over it. I'm kind of feeling like the Police kind of thing here, so let's see how it goes. Again, we're kind of improvising everything, so wish me luck. I didn't like that take. And then we got that double hit like I was talking about. Let's try a different kit. That one's a little bit loud. So Sunset, that's got a weird snare, I think. Let's go SoCal. So that's back where we were. But I'm recording on a different track so we can edit it later. And I'm going to do those ghost notes or rolls a little quieter now, using 2 fingers. Nice, I like that take. It's pretty cool. And if my, let's see. So, all right, so that was SoCal. I thought that was a good result. Sunset, I really do like for some of the cymbal sounds. They're a little more muted. Versus SoCal, which actually does have a really good ride bell. But in my opinion, I think that the hi-hat is okay. This hit on the crash is a little bit fake sounding for me. It's a little too perfect. So let's see what else we've got. You guys can do this at home. Now, I kind of want a jazzy thing going on with the cymbal here. So kind of like when we did Rosanna by Toto, it kind of had a little bit more of that jazzy thing. Let's hear what Neo Soul sounds like. A little bit like it's made out of tin, but I actually kind of like it. So let's hear what it sounds like with the track. I'm gonna, I guess I'll keep the metronome on for now. And I actually am going to audition a different bass part. That's a little busy, actually, now that I listen to it, which sometimes I have been known to do because I listen to a lot of kind of extreme music, genres of music, and sometimes the drums can get really groovy. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to mute this track on the drums. And the other tracks are soloed right now, which I'll talk about later. But I'm going to go ahead and mute that track. I'll keep the snare. Let's see how this goes. I like that. It does sound suspiciously like the Toto song. Ba-da-da-da-ba-ba-ba-ba-da-da. Pretty good. And I think I have a swing quantized on the cymbals, and that's why it's kind of groovy like that. But it's a little disjointed. I do feel like I want to do something to bring it all together. And that's kind of where the ride bell comes in. And so I usually do the ride bell next. And what I'm going to do, instead of getting rid of this drum track here, I'm going to add a track. I'm going to go all sections. I'm going to grab the drum track that we just tried. I'm going to copy it. And then I am going to paste it. That way, when we get to the next section, we will be able to do that. Okay, so here we go. All right, so now we've gone ahead and we've auditioned a new drum part, and I think it sounds pretty cool. So we're gonna go to where we're just looking at section G, because then we can actually loop that. All right. And another way to do it with that other track I didn't like as much, right now I'm gonna cut it, I'm gonna delete it. I think, hold on. All sections, do I wanna just move it? Let's see. Nope, I wanna cut it, because I already copied it. Let me just go ahead and cut it here. Okay, cool. So now we're gonna go ahead and do just section G. And we are going to try a new, or now we're going to try to add the ride symbol here, okay? So here we go. Now what I will do, because a human being can only play one note at a time, so this one I'm actually going to quantize differently because I want it to have a different feel and I want it to move around. This way it sounds like the drummer's just moving the stick around, not like he has 3 arms, which would be weird. And you see that just makes it sound way more organic. Now when it comes to the toms and then the crash, we are going to try the Sunset kit. Let's try this one out. They're pretty bright, but we can actually equalize this track, which I'll show you guys in a bit, to make it more bassy and full. So let's try this out and see how it sounds. All right, nice. And now what we can also do is that we can take these elements that we've recorded and we can add them. So this is why I have soloed parts. We can drop them out. So for example, let's say I want to drop out the ride cymbal here. And I'm going to pull this down. The snare and the bass are the most important, so I'm going to pull the volume down. And okay, so let's see how we like this. I'm going to pull that down just a little. And then the SoCal, I'm going to go in. I'm going to hit this sliders here, which brings me the track effects. And no wonder it sounded kind of treble heavy. Let's see how it sounds now. So the first time I play the loop, I don't have anything else on it, and then I'm going to bring in the ride cymbal, or no, I'm going to bring in the hi-hat. Let's try it the other way. I'm going to start there, and I'm going to bring that in. Measure 2, ba ba cha ba bow. Then now it's going to replay the whole piece. And I'm going to pull up our pots and pans. Cool. And that's kind of weird, but I might just throw it in at the end or do a weird solo with it. Let's see what it sounds like. Caught that hit from the end, so I'm going to pull that back. It's cool. It makes it pretty groovy. It kind of changes it up a little bit. Sounds a little bit like the band Yes or something, if you ever listen to that. And nice. Well, I like it. Okay, cool.